Hey, what is up guys, GuitarRock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust 2 video. So let's talk about the guild rates for the current season. As you can see right now, we have a new interesting boss right here. This is going to be something that I think is a little bit different, finally a little bit of a neutral element boss. So what does this mean, right? Usually we'll have boss of a specific element, but this particular boss, since it's neutral, I think you can pretty much use a lot of variety of characters, especially in the lower levels one. But when it comes to higher level rates, the strategy is going to be pretty much fixed due to the nature of the mechanics of the boss, and I'm going to explain slowly why. But first things first, you're going to need a few different characters to try to deal with this boss, right? The boss has 3 weak hit spots right here. Alright, so each of the weak parts takes 300% damage. Now, one thing that you'll see the boss have is the boss has taunt. Alright, and this taunt basically applies the specific taunt to the head, which does not have any weak spots, right? So, which is this most front part, which is why you need a character that can remove taunt for you. Now, as far as I know, there's 3 characters in the game that can do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe I'm missing someone, right? Number 1 is going to be YURI. Alright, YURI is going to be a very strong one. She has this particular one that can remove buffs from the enemy. Alright, so remove buffs, meaning including taunt, right? Another character is going to be Ilenia, right? So Ilenia is also a pretty decent option. If you want to, she is also going to be pretty good because you can basically do the same thing with her, right? Let me see, I believe it's this particular one that can remove buffs, or does both her costume? No, only the other one. Only the other one can, and it has to be this particular costume, alright? The third character is going to be Sherazad. Now she is going to be a magic character that can remove buff. Now Sherazad is way more flexible because all of the costume can remove buff, right? You can see this one can remove buff, this one can remove buff, this one can remove buff. But the boss do have a little bit of a difficulty if you're not trying to use physical team, because the boss is going to do physical damage. Now you can probably like try magic team and it can probably still work to a certain extent, right? But I do think that magic team, physical team is going to shine a little bit due to the nature of one more mechanic that the boss has, which is this particular thing right here. The boss has this particular special thing, alright, for 20 turns, applies 5% augmentation effect to all parts each time hit. The augmentation effect will last for 2 turns and stacks 1 time with each hit received. This effect can be increased up to a maximum of 20 stacks. Now this means that the more hit you do, the more amplification you are going to do, right? Or augmentation in this particular case. Increase your damage dealt. But only physical characters have high chain character right now, which is Wilhelmina, right? Or you can use Hikage in that particular case to try to stack this, alright? Which is pretty much why YURI and Wilhelmina is going to be pretty much the fixed slot right here. And then of course, with Zenith in this particular case, this is more for defensive reasons because the boss seems to always... the boss actually does a lot of damage, especially in level 10, which I can't do yet. I will need some of my guildmates to basically put a better Ventana for now, because I noticed the Ventana is constantly dying. That's going to be a big problem, which I will explain to you guys later in the mechanics. Now Ventana, why Ventana specifically? Now because you have YURI, and she's going to be a very good one. YURI is good not only because she can remove buff, not because of this particular one, but also because of this particular one. So this one hits perfectly in line with the boss's weak spot right here, which is, there's not many characters that can hit in this particular minus line, right? So that's going to be what it is, and YURI is going to be one of the few characters that can do that. So that's going to be 1. Ventana complements YURI because number 1, she's very cheap in terms of the SP, right? Number 2, she has this particular one as well that is going to hit in that particular diagonal line. One more is going to be this particular one. We can also apply the light vulnerability to the boss. Since the boss don't have any weakness specifically, Diana is not going to be used right here because we don't really have a property damage as much, right? So we don't benefit from that. So this is going to be the team that I feel like most players are going to try to use in the top level 9, level 10, right? Maybe like level 9. I feel like level 9, you can probably get away, if you don't have Ventana right here, you can probably get away with Sacred Justia, because I did try it earlier and I feel like the damage threshold is quite high. It should be enough. If you don't have Ventana, you want to use Sacred Justia instead, you probably can get away with her, right? She is also going to have enough damage, but level 10 might be a bit difficult. That's where you probably need Ventana's strength right here, right? Now again, if you don't have Yuri, you don't have Ventana, which I don't have as well, my Ventana is not super well built. Keep in mind you can always borrow some of these characters from your guildmates, right? So in this case, I'll borrow one Yuri right here, and you can borrow up to 2. Alright, so for those of you who are not aware, you can always borrow 2 characters, especially DPS. I can either take this Ventana right here, or I can just stick with that for the time being, right? Now, one thing to note that your Ventana is going to need a certain specific HP and defense to be able to survive the boss. So you can see this Ventana has 79% and 4.1k HP. This is one of the support character that I borrow. As you can see, you can borrow 2 support character, right? Like I mentioned. So you can see right here, the boss is going to do very high fixed damage. If you do level 10, right? The boss later on will be able to activate this particular one. They will do 4441 fixed damage to you. Alright, this is a lot of damage, right? And of course, early on, you also want to have defense because the boss is going to hit you specifically as well. So it's going to be very hard. That's going to be the survivability issue, right? That I think a lot of players will run into, which is why I can't do that yet. I will show you level 9. This one is much easier to survive, as you can see. The boss will only do 3174 fixed damage. Alright, so it's going to be way more easier for you to be able to survive this particular one. So I will show you guys what I'm talking about, and then you guys can basically gauge much better right there. Again, for level 9, level 8 and below, right? If you don't have Ventana, you can definitely get away with using Sacred just there. I've tried previously. It's definitely a very comfortable run as well if you have a decently strong one. Okay, so starting off right now, you can see it is going to be straightforward. The boss is starting off with this taunt thing, right? The boss is going to apply taunt, and then it's going to apply augmentation. You can stack that to 20 times. So in the beginning, right now, what we can do is limited. So we're going to start off with the swimsuit pool party Rafitia first, and then buff, and then Zenith goes in. Wilhelmina can do this particular one. We don't have enough to activate this, sadly. That particular SP is just nice. Ventana is going to go in and apply this particular one, the light vulnerability, alright? So we're going to start off with that particular one. Okay. So far, so good. Let me turn off my face cam so you guys can see the damage. Okay, we're not doing like crazy damage or anything, but still pretty decent. So now that we have applied, the boss has applied taunt, right? So what do we need to do that? We need to remove the taunt. We're also going to buff with a Homunculus Later right here. So something like that, Homunculus Later. And then now we're gonna try to remove the taunt first using Yuri skill. And then we go in with Zenith afterwards. Change to the other one, and then go with Swimsuit, and then go this, right? Now, this one you want your DPS to get hit. Notice your DPS characters are getting hit right here. Now, why is that? Because your DPS characters will basically get the augmentation right here, increasing your damage dealt by 200%. So you sort of want to get hit right here by the boss, right? So this particular boss, I feel like it's much more of a survivability check than DPS check, right? So it's more like you have to like sort of like min-max your gears to try to get the best possible survivability kind of thing. Make sure they don't die, but also make sure that they have enough damage. Okay, so now that we got hit, we can move our all the characters to the side, right? So we're gonna do just that. So what are we going to do now? So we're gonna go with this. So we're gonna go with this particular one. So we can go with Zenith, Wilhelmina, and then Later, and then Ventana, and then Yuri. So you put Yuri last because she hits 3 tiles. So that's going to give the maximum effect for the damage, hopefully. Okay. 72%. Get sprayed fire. Now this particular this particular one we have to be really careful, and I will need to explain to you guys why specifically. So for this particular turn, you don't want to do too much damage because you don't want the boss to activate overdrive too early. Because if you suffer with survivability, you want your Rafitia to have this particular one, which is the barrier, to stack alongside with this particular energy guard, right? Because like I mentioned, survivability is going to be a big problem. If you don't have those two together, your Ventana might die. So what you want to do is you want to be careful, don't activate the robot during this turn, and also don't do too much damage, right? So what you can do is you can go with this one again, alright? So we are just, if I go with Homunculus later, there's a very high chance I will be able to drop the boss below 50%. I mean Path of Vengeance, right? So I'm just gonna use a normal hit. We try to do a controlled damage right here. Okay. So 70%. Normal hit. 63%. Okay, 53%, right? So the boss is still at 53%. So now, this is where it gets very interesting. We can activate the robot after this by doing this particular skill first. Alright, we can go back to the Raphitia's this skill, and now we can do Homunculus later. Now this won't be an issue if you're doing level 10 boss, but level 9, level 8, you want to control a little bit to time it accordingly. And it's going to be important because unless you don't have survivability issue, but ideally you want your Raphitia to have this barrier here for the aura stacked with the energy guard, so that your Ventana or your Yuri in that case can survive, right? Because they are quite squishy in that particular case. Why is Liberta all the way here? So we go with Robot in this second skill, Raphitia with this particular one for now, alright. We go with Liberta for that, Homunculus later activate, and then a Zenith go afterwards, Wilhelmina afterwards, and then we go with we are going to apply the light vulnerability again, and then we go with Yuri last. Okay. So buff, focus fire. So we focus in the middle. Okay, now that the boss has dropped below 50% HP, this is where the boss will enter this thing called the overdrive. Alright, so what is the overdrive, right? At below 50% HP, the boss will basically jump onto you, doing this particular fixed damage. So 3174, as you can see, there's KO there, very scary. Alright, but again, we do have the barrier earlier. Barrier doesn't really help, sadly, right? I forgot. The barrier might not be able to help because it's a fixed damage, but this one can help, the energy guard. So energy guard is going to be something that you will be able to benefit from. I think I completely forgot about that. Yeah, barrier doesn't really help because it's a fixed damage, so it's all up to the energy guard right there. So in this particular case, we're gonna go with this. We're gonna go with this. Make sure your Liberta has the heal one right there. We're gonna go with that still, and then we're gonna go with this last. We go with this, and then the robot will still do this one. Okay, let's see if this is enough, right? 37%. Okay, if we don't survive this, then we might have to revert back and do something else. So this is going to be... Why is the speed slow down? 33%. Trying to stack as much chain as we can. Okay, that's a lot of damage. Okay, 12% left. Let's see, can we survive this particular one? Okay, we can survive this particular one. Alright, so again, that is sometimes the characters can die from DOT, so you gotta be very careful with that, right? Again, I'm pretty sure that the barrier doesn't really help, but the energy guard is the one that you really need. So that's going to be how it is. But if you want to be safe, just stack both, right? Because that particular boss, maybe the barrier helps with the DOT. It might not help with the fixed damage, alright? Because fixed damage, as far as I know, it ignores damage reduction and stuff, right? Because it's fixed. But because after you get body slam with a fixed damage, you still get the DOT. I do think that maybe like DOT, at least the barrier can help elevate that. But regardless, at turn 13, so now we can activate this particular one. We can basically go in and hopefully, you know, complete everything, right? Finish the the boss with our strongest skill. Alright, so this should be enough. Because the boss is left with 10% HP right now. So there's just no reason for this to not be enough. Yeah, activate the wrong Zenith skill. I think should rotate around the swimsuit one. But yeah, regardless, it should be more than enough, right? GG. So yeah, as you can see, that is going to be for a level 9 boss. Let's show you guys the damage right here. This is going to be for Snow White Ventana. It's obviously going to be the one that does the most. This is a +5. Comeback Idol Yuri, Whiteboard Yuri, Comeback Idol Ventana, etc, etc. Those are going to be it. Alright, so this is going to be, you know, a very interesting boss overall. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. As per usual, I hope you guys are able to use this as a reference for you guys. I will try out level 10 once I have, you know, somebody that can put up a stronger Ventana. Hopefully can give me the more HP one, because right now, this one is barely enough. It dies from the DOT as well at level 10. So with that, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Right, subscribe, give this video a like. Have a nice day. Goodbye.